Hey everyone, how's it going? I had to re-record my day 3 summary. Apologize about that, so it's getting re-uploaded a little bit later. But day 3 was another great day. Sport my Bitcoin 2028 halving shirt. I ended up getting I think 4 t-shirts from FOMO 21 that I liked, and this was one of them. Anyway, so no shenanigans with all the politicians that were there on day 2. There was still some on day 3, but overall, since JD Vance wasn't speaking, they didn't lock down the entire conference, including the expo and all the other stages. So it was the day flowed a lot better. It was still packed. It was still massively packed. At least towards the end of the day, the expo started to thin out, especially in the afternoon. Some people started taking down some stuff, some of the exhibitors and merchants and whatnot. I had a chance to run into Max and Stacy actually in the hallway walking towards the conference. That was pretty cool. They're a little bit out there, but it was kind of cool meeting them. Then later in the expo hall, I got a chance to run into Dave Weissenberger. Got a photo with him, started talking with him. We actually had a really good conversation for what felt like 10 minutes. Some interesting points. We talked a little bit about Macro Monday, which is what I love about him and what he does, and some about Mike McGlone, and a couple other cool things here and there. But we talked a little bit about the markets in general, some of the things going on at the conference, some of the things coming up forward. His company, which he took a break from that. He stepped down from that role, basically in a way retired from it, and let his son kind of take over the company. So having that kind of conversation with him was interesting, a little insight into what's going on in his world. And then back in the whale room, saw a couple good speeches. Got to meet Scott Melker again. I saw him last year. Met him again this year. Mark Moss in the industry area, just outside the Whale Pass area. Met him. He was talking with another guy that was asking him some very. I'm not judging other people going there. They, this is their chance to meet whoever they want to meet, but they're asking questions that Mark Moss covers in, if not every one of his videos, almost every one of his videos. So it's either you've never actually watched him and you just know who he is, or you watched him and you're just wanting to confirm what he says every time is what he believes. It was a moment where he's looking for a little bit of an escape. I'll put it that way. So, I'm like, hey, I'll let you get to where you're going. I just really want a picture. Thank you for X, Y, and Z. And, look forward to he had a talk coming up later too. So I was, telling him that. But, met him. Then there was a chance to meet James Lavish, which was awesome. Larry Lepard, which was really cool. Larry was exhausted, which is unfortunate. He seems to be the kind of guy that, like Dave, would like to chat about pretty much whatever. But I think he was up the night before signing books for hours on hours, and it showed. He was really gassed. But that was pretty cool meeting those guys. Now the end of the conference, like most years, was just a massive lineup of speakers back to back to back. And no, I'm not talking about the Litecoin conference next door. I'm talking about the last day 3, Thursday afternoon. It was speaker after speaker after speaker. I mean, we had Jack Mallers come up there, and he started talking about some of his lending that I took a loan out with him, and he finally, before the end of the month, like he promised, was able to get different loan rates to lower the interest rate and increase the amount that you can take for a loan, but also to reduce the minimums that are required for a loan, because it's hard for people to put up $150,000 worth of assets to get a $75,000 loan. Now you can get it as low as, depending on your market, $10,000, which is a normal amount for Arizona, because there was some kind of law. It has to be $10,001 for a loan if it's for personal use. So that was cool. Michael Saylor obviously had his bit. His talk was pretty neat. It was 21 ways to wealth, and they all started with the letter C, which is interesting. They're like courage, confidence, conviction. It was some really good points, some really good takeaways, honestly, that I wasn't expecting to get from a Michael Saylor speech, because I've, like a lot of people in the space, have listened to countless hours of him talk about Bitcoin. So we had some new material there and some ideas to think differently on some things, which is really interesting. Lynn Alden came out. She had her part. She always has some good material. And then the keynote at the end, they're all technically keynotes, but the big one everybody was waiting for was Ross Ulbricht. And, he got a standing ovation as he came out, just like anybody else. Getting chills, just realizing the fact that this guy was recently just in prison. Actually, just one exit behind me is where he stayed for the last 6 years, I think, of his federal incarceration, just right off of Wilmot and I-10. And then it got silent, and it was just like a moment. It was amazing to be there. I actually rewatched the speech, and it's just as powerful watching the recording of it. He talked about the low-hanging fruit, what it was like being in prison, what he thought about how he viewed freedom inside prison and outside of prison. And then he had a good story. I'd recommend going and watching. He likened it to the second half of the speech was when he had these 7 hornets nest outside of a property, and how he took care of that when they're not unified and it's not they're decentralized. And it's just really actually good material. He obviously spent a lot of time preparing that, and that was awesome. So I was pretty excited about that. I will say, especially on day 3, it became really apparent, and this is just more of a personal opinion. I think I share this with a lot of other people that would probably consider themselves Bitcoin maxis, but at the end of the conference, I got really disappointed at just how far we, and I say we, Bitcoiners, when really I mean David Bailey and Bitcoin Magazine, rolled out the red carpet for shitcoiners. Like, especially like XRP, like Brad Garlinghouse was there, and they had donated this really nice piece of artwork to the Bitcoin conference, so it can go in the Bitcoin Museum. And it's just the amount of like talk on XRP and SUI and Ethereum and how accepted it was. You go back even 3-4 years ago, not only was it not acceptable to be shilling these shitcoins and talking about shitcoinery all throughout the conference, it was in writing that was not allowed by the conference, and now it's kind of like a full embrace. It's kind of interesting because XRP, Ripple, Garlinghouse, I mean they're basically booted out of everything to do with the White House. I mean they are on the outs for sure. So they're finding a life raft with Bitcoin Magazine here. Take it for what it is. I mean, there's still a lot of great Bitcoin content. There's a lot of great Bitcoin maximalists that are talking about things that I even took away from it. Here, we all have our own egos about how much we think we know and what we don't know, and then somebody says something in a different way that gets you to think, and that's what I go for. That's what I enjoy. So I can still get that out of that, even though there's a lot of change in the conference from prior years, and that's probably going to continue trending in that direction going forward. There's going to be a lot of stablecoin talk, especially when it comes to politicians and everything else going on. There'll be midterms next year, so I'm thinking about doing like an overall summary of the conference, which will probably take me a week or two. I don't really feel like doing a lot of video editing or clipping or preparing or anything like that, but we have our Bitcoin meetup here in Tucson, Arizona, which our next meeting I'll be presenting a lot of things about my takeaways from the conference, answering questions from people that didn't go, that are thinking about going. I hope there'll be a handful of people that went there as well. A couple people are traveling, so right after the conference they went on to another state or to go see family, so not everybody will be there that was at the conference, but hopefully it'll be a couple. But if it's just me, that's fine too. I'll be happy to answer any questions. So yeah, I'll get this one uploaded. Again, sorry about the delay, but I hope you guys have a good day, and let's count down the days until we get the next halving, right? All right, see you guys.